when we think about execution, we always think about that it is hardwired and always being measured through SQD and C, which is safety, quality, delivery, and cost. But today, what I will be talking more around is there are a little bit softer side of this execution and strategy, which is a very important aspect of when we think about the execution and driving the outcome. And that is where the whole culture piece come into play. And I would like to expand this SQDC with another C, and I would call SQDC and C, because that is where you look at the culture. And today, of this entire string, I'll be talking on safety side of it and how it is connected with the culture and how it can help you to drive the outcome in this scenario. Now, when I talk about the safety, generally the one thing which comes to our mind is the safety of people, safety of environment, and we ensure that nobody is getting hurt in the whole execution process. But I would like to elaborate this a little bit more in terms of the safety of definitely our people, which is the thing about the environment, health, and safety. But we need to think about safety as quality, where quality is our customer safety. And the third one, which is very important, is the overall compliance of the process, which is the safety of the organization or the company and the corporate social image of an organization. And that is where we need to be taking all these three aspects of safety very well whenever and whatever we are designing or thinking about safety in our context. Now, if I elaborate this and try to connect this safety piece with the culture, one thing is very important in that is the psychological safety, because supply chain execution operation is all about people. And unless we provide this psychological safety to people, definitely people will not be empowered, they will not be engaged, and will not be driving the outcome. And how to define the psychological safety in this global context, which is very important when there are different geographies, different time zones, different cultural aspect of what people are doing. The way I think about is that you can create that psychological safety for all of us who are working is to create an environment where people are not being penalized, people are not being humiliated for speaking up their mind, sharing their ideas, thoughts, raising concern and making mistakes. Because unless we create that platform, you are not going to achieve the outcomes. In terms of, if you don't create an environment where people are discouraged to speak up, you would see that the best idea is not coming up. People will not offer their ideas, they will keep it to themselves, and then you will be missing out a very important element of the whole idea generation and having a diverse view and taking it for the execution. And what you can do when it comes about the psychological safety, creating that environment in the organization is ensure that everybody is participating. Whenever there are discussions, meetings, as a leader, you need to ensure first that you are listening and giving an opportunity to each and everyone. You are thinking about that each one, how you can enable that each one is taking the same amount of time in a meeting. If there are people who are dominating the discussions, how you can tone them down and create an environment where everybody is talking. Otherwise, what happens that the people who are not extrovert, who are really not thinking that this organization gives them the psychological safety, they will be taking a back seat and will not be participating. And you will not be able to utilize your entire workforce or the empowerment team who would be driving the outcome. So think about as a leader that what you need to do to create that psychological safety. And another very important aspect of is when you are executing something, don't think it's just a work for each one of us, and don't measure people just on failure or the success. Create an ecosystem where people think that execution is all about learning and growing. And definitely when we do 100 things, there is a possibility that you may be failing on one or two. So think about that, create that ecosystem. And again, don't create that ecosystem by just talking about it, but you need to walk the talk and you need to demonstrate as a leader that how you are enabling that culture across the organization at all the levels so that people are coming up, people are talking about it, they are discussing the ideas, They are sharing their mistakes, they are sharing their failures, because that is very important. And now how can you do that is, for you to create that ecosystem, you need to create an environment of trust. And when I think about the trust, I think about the 3 different ways people trust each other, or the trust relationship you can build. One is definitely people trust you because of your position, because like if I am the head of the organization or the company or operation, definitely people will trust me because I hold a position of power. People trust me because the second aspect, which is I'm expert in the particular area. And that's the way people say, yeah, you are the subject matter expert, and what you are telling to me is, definitely we will follow you and will trust you. But these 2 trusts are not very long lasting in the longer run, and not, I would say, creating that ecosystem, because it is like more of a transactional, it is more of just what you are required for you to drive the outcome, and for a short-lived trust. But if you need to build that trust over a long term, you need to build the relationships. And which is very important in the current set of organization. And again, I would refer that there are global geographies, global locations, different time zones where people are working. You need to build those relationships for developing that trust among each other. And how can you do that? You can do that by knowing people personally before you start your professional engagement, before you start talking about the work. And again, I can demonstrate in maybe my next talk that how can you build that trust, understanding people personally in 30 seconds. For anybody, it should not take more than 30 seconds if you want to know anybody on the personal side of it. And once you connect personally, I can tell you that it will be very smooth and simple journey around your professional activities. The people will be more receptive to the thoughts, ideas, discussion, and it will be more of a collaborative environment, because the biggest problem for the organization today is the conflict management. Because in the organization, there are functions who are having the conflicting task, who are having the conflicting priorities in the nature. Think about it. Somebody in the finance will be only looking at the cost. On the other side, somebody in the operation looking at the production or the output, and they may or may be needing more and more resource, where finance will saying, no, you need to reduce the cost. And again, these are the design conflict in the organization which are existing, which are designed. But what happens? Over a period of time, people start thinking that conflict is the way of life. Whereas from the organization point of view, organization think that people need to collaborate and deliver rather than having this conflicting scenarios. And that is where we need, as a leader, we need to create that environment where people are collaborating, and collaborating at a level where they are managing this conflict. And we need to give a message that team, this conflict is by design. Definitely there is a design conflict, but the organization aim is to achieve the outcome through collaboration. And that is the way, if people build a personal relationship, they will be able to collaborate in a better way. And that is where the whole thought of working together comes. And when you are collaborating, always there will be disagreements, because always there will be conflict. And people will be like pointing fingers on each other. And to avoid that, what we can do is always we need to follow the approach of goal, behavior, and outcome. Wherein for each one of us, we need to define the goals or the KPIs, which definitely driving your behavior. And then when your behavior is aligned to your goal, outcome are bound to come. And that is where the defining goal and measuring it on a regular basis is very important. And that is where the whole piece of digitization or having a single source of truth comes very handy, where you are creating an ecosystem within the organization where everybody is looking at the same data, everybody is having a discussion with the database, and that is where you are like having an acceptable discussion where you are more logical than more emotional and only just talking your perceptions. And that is where it is very important, the execution and strategy piece, to pick up the digital thread and keep looking at the data, having the discussion based on the data. And then with that data, creating an environment of collaboration. And again, if I just roll it up, what you are doing, you are defining the goal. Defining the goal, you are creating an ecosystem where everybody is seeing the same amount of data. You are, with that collaboration, you are building the trust. When you are building the trust among each other, people know that they are psychologically safe. And when they are psychologically safe, definitely they move it up and they look at the safety of your own organization, safety of your customer, and safety of your company. And that is the way you can create whole ecosystem where this two soft element of supply chain or execution, which is safety and the culture, that is where the whole piece of execution helps you. And that is the way I think about it, that when you just think about SQ, DC and the metrics, that may not be the right thing for you to do. You need to think about this two software element, and then your quality, delivery, cost and cash will automatically coming in. And for that, you have a different kind of tool which we can use for you to create that kind of visibility. Now, another very important aspect of this whole culture build I want to talk about, and again, it definitely helps leaders, is a lot of the talk with pre and post COVID is around work-life balance. And a lot of time what people see, you can see on the screen, they feel that there is a perfect balance in work and life. And always you think about this 50-50 equation. But I would like to give an example. Think about you are riding a bicycle and you're on a straight road, definitely you will make a balance and go straight. But if there is a turn to your right or left, what do? You take your bicycle to the right if it's a right turn. You take your bicycle to the left when there is a left turn. You really don't drive straight. And that is exactly what happens when we talk about work-life balance, that we need to keep talking to the people that there is nothing like a balance. When you think about the balance, it is 50-50%, but it's like more of life and work management. There are multiple things we keep juggling and keep managing based on the situation, based on our life priority, based on our life journey where we are in. So never think about work-life balance, but it's more of a life-work management where we are looking at the different aspect and different needs and providing that flexibility to your team. Because again, that is a part of building the psychological safety where you are providing the required freedom, flexibility to your people for them to take care of both work and life. And when you do that, always people are more engaged, they are empowered, and they are working to deliver more. And last thing which I will talk today is more for my friends who are young and who are just starting their career or the budding managers, is around creating the depth and the width of the experience. And what you see here is like, definitely there are two pictures and you can see which one you like, correct? Right or the left. Because one side you are seeing a big fruit which is beneath, but you can see at the top very small leafy stuff. And on the other side you see a lot of leaves, but the fruit is very small. And that is where you need to think about that none of this are the ideal situation. You need to have both. And what I see, two things very clearly. One is the depth, which is nothing but your skill and capability. And another is your width, which is knowledge and information. And as you progress in your career or your leadership journey, you need to have a mix of a good depth as well as the width. So don't think about that you can pick any of this and work on. No, you need to have a good mix of both. And that is where you are become exploring and evolving as a leader and utilizing your full potential. So with this, I would like to stop here and would like to thank each one of you as well as Della leaders for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.